emotions are a great gift, but they can also be a great curse. When we avoid them, we start to experience this immense amount of suffering. Why don't you have more joy in your life?
If I just allow myself to stop caring about things that the caring is causing the pain, there's kind of this sense of like, I have no power.
And there's a deeper part of you that knows that there is hope.
The true dragon is forgiveness.
Forgiveness can never take place without a certain amount of understanding first.
And when you choose to forgive someone else, you're inevitably forgiving yourself. And that's where true healing really occurs.
I don't care what it takes. I'm not going to stop until this is done.
Acting on emotions as guides to truth. Stillness. Surrendering to what is. Seeking. Using my gifts with purpose. Light. This is the emotional blueprint.
There's this cool ancient reference called, you probably heard of it because you're the master at all this, called the sun door. Have you heard of the sun door? The sun door is pretty rad. It's this visual symbol of there's a door actually in the sun. And someone that has arrived is at the sun door. Symbolizing basically coming from the moon, which is the inner shadow work, letting go, this mysterious path for people. And then once they have more fully healed, they now enter the sun door, which is symbolic of the sun like shining out. It's like I had to go in and go through these cycles of rebirth, like the moon does, and then shine, basically. So you're pretty much at the sun door. And yeah.
That's cool. I haven't heard of that. It is a good analogy, especially for people on their healing journey. Like it, in some senses, it can be very long. And what sustains you through that is like, at some point a light turns on and it might be pretty dim, but like there's a star out there in all this darkness and you feel like you can orient yourself and go there. And, you know, at this point when I'd met you, like that star like became real. It was like, there is some hope. And like, I was still like, you know, floating in space, right? But there is this kind of journey across the inner cosmos that you approach higher and deeper and brighter light. And that process, you know, the time for it can be a long time. But if we stick to that path, it's a guarantee. And you can't imagine how bright that light can really become.
That's so powerful. Let's actually show people that from your story.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started to see me and you started to feel hope. And then we talked a lot about emotions. You were always coming in with these like powerful questions, prophetic questions, actually.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I was learning with you and through all of that. Beautiful experience that we both had together.
Yeah, I remember from time to time, like specifics of what I learned there will crop up. But in a lot of ways, the way I've always looked at it is like I had tried out the way that I knew how And in a sense, those institutions and that knowledge had failed me. And then I kind of figured out that like the same way like you learn about your physical needs or like you know, in my life I had learned about spiritual needs, like there's just a whole emotional system that has to be understood. And I just didn't grow up in a community that was really in touch with that. So it was like all of a sudden someone was teaching me how to breathe, something that ideally would have been a natural process from the beginning of my life,
Mm.
but that I didn't really have those skills and that guidance that I needed. And I was a particularly sensitive person, so it just the negative emotions accumulated quickly without being able to flow through. And it was just like a crash course in learning how to process that. This is like a normal system of your existence that you can, learn the same way you can learn to swim or ride a bike. Really that simple. And like all this stuff about having mental illness or looking at it that way, it just kind of flipped that paradigm around of like, no, these are the downstream effects of being out of touch with like a whole thing, your emotional well-being, this like big part of this whole picture that you are. And I just remember kind of just like a light going on and learning like, okay, so this is the skill that like I was existing without and suffered a lot, and now I have it, I can start to repair.
Cool. I can't help but view your story in the narrative of the hero's journey. So we're just going to roll with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you responded to the call way before you came in to see me. Meaning, what does that mean? You were trying your best to listen to your emotions and spirit. Phase 2, emotional balance, or fighting some of the demons and dragons, kind of going into that new world and fighting the demons and dragons. I kind of tag that as emotional balance.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we want to feel more connected and really like, emotions are a great gift, but they can also be a great curse. When we avoid them, we start to experience this immense amount of suffering, If we don't, what I have so much compassion for people is like, dude, Corey, I'm not trying to avoid these. It's like, I know you just don't know how to deal with them. And unfortunately, the consequence is very similar. I think there's some grace there for people that just don't know how, and they're not intentionally avoiding. But through not knowing how to deal with emotions, we end up avoiding them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. And obviously, we want to relearn to listen to our emotions, because emotions and spirit are one and the same. To me, you cannot separate those. Why? Well, I believe, in what I have seen, is that emotions are actually signals from our spirit telling us what we need in our life, if they're negative emotions. And then the positive emotions are an expression. It's like, how does our spirit talk? It talks through emotions. So it's this cool, mysterious journey of knowing what they mean. And, going back to shame as an example, what's so difficult about shame is shame feels like I'm deeply flawed. But shame actually never means how it feels. Like, I feel deeply flawed because I crashed my car into my garage and the bumper fell off. I'm such an idiot. This is a light example. But that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I'm the worst driver ever. But that's not actually what it means. My spirit's just trying to say, hey, you're being a little too hard on yourself, or your false view of yourself, Corey. Like, you do need to get better at driving, but it's okay. Like, you're not deeply flawed.
And kind of what you're saying, like if you don't even know that emotions can like guide you to how you can make changes, or just even that you can be bigger than your emotions, so to speak. That like when they come in, like that's not like the the dictate for the day. Like you can do
Mm.
something real about it, which is not avoidance.
Right.
Was a huge breakthrough for me, because I just felt like totally victim to the things popping up in my brain, all these moods and all these the fear, guilt, shame, all these things. It's just like hopelessness. Like they just felt like it's almost like back to the hero's journey. Like I entered like the training montage scene, right? Like you got beat by the end boss, in the beginning, and then like now you're gonna start on like the little guys and like test your skills, learn how to do it.
That's what emotions are. I really view them as is these little. I don't think demon in the hero's journey. Sure, we can call them demons, but these little tests.
Yeah.
And what's coming up is the big dragon, to slay the big dragon.
Or Drago
Drago.
from Rocky IV.
Yep. Yeah, we should use more Rocky metaphors on here for sure. So in your story, what was really fascinating is, okay, you came on the retreat. Clearly, it was just awesome to reconnect. What I admired so much about you, I don't know if I said I don't know how this happened. I want to, I guess, ask you, but there was a moment where you realized, like, oh, maybe I haven't totally slain the dragon yet. Maybe I'm realizing that there's a little bit more. Like I thought I was maybe done, or I don't know if you did, but a lot of people think they're done. A lot of therapists will say they're done. Hey, you seem pretty good. Like you're done. Like, let me know if you need anything. It's like they haven't even learned anything about their emotions. It's like their life has just calmed down, and you're telling them they're done. Like I don't believe in taking care of people that way. But anyways, so you hit this moment of realizing that you had more to work on.
Yeah, for sure. I think well, a classic thing with the hero's journey is it kind of repeats itself.
For sure. We're never done.
Yeah, and when I had seen you, I got to a place where I was on my feet again, and I had some hope for life. I was able to stop therapy. A few years later, I totally stopped any medication. I was able to do school. Like things were coming back that had felt so unrealistic. And I didn't just identify myself as this person with depression anymore. I didn't see that as sort of the thing that would define my life that for a lot of years I totally thought was true.
Like that part of you died.
Yeah.
Basically, which is powerful.
Yeah, and then it was a big process of kind of rebuilding my mind is how I see it. There was a lot of I think trauma is the best word for it. It experienced a lot of loss of self. And I was just kind of in this phase. There were ups and downs for the next years, but I feel like I could breathe again. And it was time for me to really take what I'd learned and take it seriously and go on my own journey of learning. And I got really into studying all this stuff with a little bit more clear head and a little more perspective, understanding, spirituality and emotions and kind of understanding what had happened. And still definitely a time of survival. But I was just so grateful to feel some relief, some healing, some new place that I was willing to accept. Like maybe the life that I once saw, the happiness that I once had, maybe that's not realistic, but man, it's awesome that I'm even here.
Mm-hmm. There's always like this buildup of, okay, like I'm feeling more emotionally balanced. I'm feeling better about who I am. I'm feeling actually pretty good. This buildup, but there's still this dragon to slay, this emotional weight, this like larger emotional weight for people to let go of. What was that for you?
Yeah. So
And maybe I'm not saying it totally the right way.
no. I think that's spot on. I was gonna say, I would think from your perspective as a therapist, it's like you see someone get, so much of themselves back, and then you're like, go all the way. And
Like, get the full payout. You've already spent $5,000 on sessions, all this time. Like, you got to keep going.
And maybe it's useful here for me to say what things I think prevent that. Not like our actual blockages, but like for my story and what I think I've seen in others, why you don't see there being a bigger picture.
Let's do it. I think that'd be good.
Yeah. The big one is that, I had gotten to a place of happiness, some happiness that I was grateful for. And what I didn't realize, though, was shame was still pinning me down big.
Mm.
And
so describe that for a second. How so?
So
just feeling that.
Yeah. Going back to how I
was
define
unworthy
of good things.
That feeling was still very much alive. I'm unworthy of good things. So good things would happen, but I wouldn't be able to fully actually feel them.
Yeah, I think shame convinces you to settle.
Totally. And fear as well.
Yeah.
Anxiety or fear.
Yeah.
Those are the two big ones, man.
Yeah, so there's that sense, and then there's also a sense of like you stall it because you know how hard it was to like face this stuff the first time, and you're like, I'm okay, I'm feeling good.
I'm not trying to make things worse.
Yeah.
And that's some of the fear or anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like a sense of like, this is as much happiness as I can have. Still, a lot of that is like based in the belief of seeing yourself as like unable to overcome.
Yes, and the belief of culture.
Yeah.
This goes back to these. Am I believing cultural views? Because settling and like you don't want to compare yourself to culture when it comes to the emotional and spiritual realm, because the collective culture is emotionally and spiritually unhealthy, and a lot of settling going on. Like, oh, you starting to feel a bit better? Good. Just like a lot of therapists promote this. I'm glad you're not feeling as sad about your divorce. Like, it sounds good. Just let me know if you need anything else. It's like, what? It's crazy.
Yeah, and just thinking a little more like what types of things keep you there. Sometimes it is again just that like ignorance of the fact that it can get better. Like you just don't know. Like,
well, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and luckily your deeper spirit is going to call you back to adventure because it wants to break free and be expressed in your life. And, we can resist that, and you can do that your entire life. But it can help you interpret the events of your life in a way that shows you that maybe there's more that you can have. And for me, I define this as like a shift from like, okay, like for a long time after I'd kind of figured it out, kind of gotten over this initial hurdle with depression, it's like I'm still hobbling along and things are still painful and hard sometimes, but like I'm surviving. And then I feel like what came into my life was the invitation to move into thriving.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. I love what you were saying. I think this, again, going back to like, what is the benefit of incorporating spirituality into my healing journey? Well, it will tell you when you are done. Don't rely on other people to tell you. Some people ask me like, Corey, therapy can be expensive. How many, I've been seeing you for 2 years or whatever. Like, how much longer is this going to take? When am I going to know that I'm done? It's like, we'll both know, but more importantly, you will know. And I can give them an intellectual, well, this is kind of where you're at in the process. This is what's to come. And you're almost there, but, yeah. And I think that is what I admire so much about you and your story. Do you realize how hard it is to go through what you have gone through? The the lightning bolts in your brain, the time and what you've been through, and then for years to feel better. And do you realize how hard it is to then dive back in to the fight or the journey? Most people don't do that, man. Most people are like, I want to believe that I am done. I want to believe that. And so I don't care what anyone says or my spirit says. I'm going to hold on to that. And that's a dangerous path. This is what Joseph Campbell talked about. You will start to see some disintegration in your life and some flowers turning to stones. So you notice this and you're like, I'm going to, I don't know if like pick it back up is the right way, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to start doing more seeking.
No, there was definitely and again, like there had been like that boost and then a period of kind of ups and downs and then kind of just this settling and in some sense like a deep part of me that knows like I'm still not back to like before all this happened. Still not back to the proverbial Garden of Eden, but like I don't like if all the work I've put in hasn't brought me that, like, okay, well then this is what I get and that's cool. And but that doesn't really last because like you're saying, things will disintegrate and eventually like this is where I believe it's like divine orchestration, like things will happen that are so particular to how you view things that like you're gonna know like you're being called again to dive deeper. And for me it was kind of like my relationship with God throughout this whole thing had gone from like, he's this cool guy I want to serve, go on a mission, like I really believed. And then after I was like, what? And then I was like, okay, maybe I was looking at this all wrong. Like, I don't know why this happened, but I'm going to do my best with it and still try to believe. And then that kind of like changed my total relationship with him. It's a father figure for me. So I'll say him. And in some point I kind of just like saw God as very hands off and like was just content to kind of go about with like this silent acknowledgement of him, but just kind of looking at life as a few flowers, but a lot of
stones.
A lot of stones.
Right.
And luckily God and our spirit don't settle for that. So like they'll send more lightning bolts to kind of call you back into things and show you.
Luckily this time not to the brain.
Yeah. To the soul. Kind of show you like, hey, we're not done here. There's more missing and you can you don't really know what it's gonna be. You just know you have to do something different.
Right.
And then the reason that we stay unconscious, as so to speak, like the reason we don't, you can choose to do this at any time, but
sure,
you get paralyzed by fear.
Yep.
And you also like with shame, you are scared to be disappointed again.
Mm-hmm.
So you decide that you're not worth, for me, it was through this whole thing, like what happens in my life is just kind of dictated by chance. And whether or not the things that would bring me happiness come, I don't really have control over that. So I'm just gonna just do my best with what comes my way. And in a big way, spirituality opens you up to the idea that maybe there's not so much chance involved and maybe what you cultivate inside is going to ripple out, and the point isn't really for your life to look some certain way. It's that you feel a certain way, and then your life just follows. But that you're gonna have that connection to yourself back, connection to really the things you deserve, the happiness and simple peace and joy. Yeah,
you've taught me a lot about that recently. Yeah, I just love the Buddhist visual of this, which is, people say these things so flippantly, like things happen the way they're supposed to. It's all meant to be. You know, it's like some people want to believe that, and that's great. But the reality is like, if you are responding to the call and you aren't resisting and engaging in self-betrayal, it's like there is a river guided by this great hand, and he has seen this river. He's been down this river. He knows he founded this river. He created it. And he sees it 1,000 miles before where you're at and 10,000 miles after. So it's like he knows where it goes. And it's this, like, whether you believe this or not, if you're not resisting, you're floating in the river, and it is going to take you to where you need to go. And so the most important spiritual practice to adopt and engage in is not resisting. Period. If you just do that, okay, how do I do that? Well, some of the emotional signals of resistance are like stress, frustration. Stress is a really interesting one because people always talk about it like it's just automatic. It's like, it's not. Example, I'm driving my car and I get stuck in traffic. And I get into work and someone's like, hey, how was your morning? I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so stressful because of the traffic. The traffic gave me this stress. It was, I can't control that. It's just, and people agree with that. The cultural, yeah. Like homework stress, traffic stress. But the reality is I'm about to hit traffic. There's already maybe thoughts coming in that like, you don't deserve this. You're going to be late. People in Utah are the worst drivers ever. Like there's too many people that live here. All of these thoughts, if you hold on to them,
whatever you'll fall for.
Yeah. All of these thoughts are trying to get you to hold on to them. So you resist what is. And so it's resistance that causes suffering. And this, I guess we could call this, what's the therapy term? This radical acceptance. Like, there's seems to be a lot of cars up there. Oh, I'm going to just turn my music up and I'll get there when I get there. Like just trying to practice that mentally is really valuable. So stress is an indicator of resistance. And obviously emotionally, that's super important to not resist what we're feeling, trying to first find balance on the hero's journey and then begin to start to slaying the dragon is basically a giant symbol of welcoming the pain and feeling it and following through those steps. But anyways.
Yeah, maybe something I'll throw in there that I think was an important message that I didn't get for a long time is when we kind of submit to these higher processes. And
I love that. I love that word.
Yeah. When we let go of our resistance to them, the fear, at least in my case, coming from a place of sometimes feeling helpless, is that like submission is like this form of like self-sacrifice that's going to bring a lot of pain. That like if you submit to which is, it's totally opposite. It's such a wild way of thinking, but it's like if I allow myself to not be stressed by the traffic, if I just allow myself to stop caring about things that the caring is causing the pain, there's kind of this sense of like, I have no power. I'm just like floating on this river. And what's so interesting is the opposite happens. And you're not all of a sudden able to control everything, of course.
Right.
But your sense of power comes back. Or maybe the way to say it is you have to believe in your internal sense of power, and maybe you look at that through like the lens of like God helping you or something like that
Sure.
before you dive into that process, because otherwise you think you're like just jumping into the meat grinder. And that's not what we mean when we talk about, radical acceptance of like, because that's a place I was at for a long time. Is like, okay, life kind of just sucks.
Mm,
And until you feel a sense of your ability to engage meaningfully with the elements in your life and have positive change come about, that's what I mean by power. Then the message,
engage meaningfully with the elements in your life. That's a beautiful
yeah,
plaque.
and that's at like a deep level. Like that's at a really being level, not just like you're grinding outside.
Yeah, obviously that can be nature, God, but to experience that on a deep level, the elements is like you're not just in nature, you are with it. You are just sitting with that. I'm with it. I am closing my eyes. I'm fully there, trying to listen to messages.
Yeah, and when you give into it, it will naturally sustain you. When you give away your resistance, what emerges from that sort of empty space of like willingness to like believe in something beyond yourself that loves you, and that might be your deeper self or God or whatever, that thing will give you all of the sense of power you need, and you're not that's the ultimate antidote for feeling like you're a victim to life and chance and all those things.
Yeah, it's really the great hand underneath your flotation. You could say, like, you're not just out there alone in this unknown river. Like, it is a known river. It's very well known. It's everyone's story, and every story ever told is what we're talking about, which is kind of cool. But me and Dane, we're talking about this powerful, what you're describing is this really powerful quality. And me and Dane did a podcast on this quality of meekness. Meekness is many things. We talked about that. We kind of broke down the 3 roots of meekness, but you're describing it basically perfectly, which is a submission and not resisting. And it comes, the power behind this, what you're saying is it's really, really helpful with cultivating this quality of meekness to have an understanding of where this guidance is coming from. It's really difficult to submit to things if you just believe chance or you just believe it's you can start there, and spirituality is being open to the possibility that there's something more than that. That's all you have to do, is just be open to it, and then be willing to try some things out. Go out into nature, have a question written down, be still, and try to really seek an answer. Prayer, there's so many things.
Totally. It will never cease to amaze you what will emerge that you could only call as, synchronistic or divine when you kind of heed that inner call, that part of yourself that knows there's more to our existence than some of the goals that are not bringing us true satisfaction, or some of the pains that we can be trapped in.
Some people might think I'm biasly selecting people to come on this podcast to promote spiritual and emotional truths. That is happening.
You are being manipulated.
But I promise you, this is going to happen on one of these podcasts. I'm going to find a random person outside that I have never met, and I'm going to ask them some questions about their life and about spirituality. And there's a part of you, listener, that knows the truth of what we are saying. There's a deeper part of you that knows that there is hope if you're feeling depressed. There's a deeper part of you that knows that there's something greater than you. When you are not depressed and when you are a little bit more balanced, please take advantage of that window to try to cultivate some kind of an experience with something greater than yourself. This great hand God is like a perfect gentleman with a top hat. He will many times he will only enter your life if you invite him to do so. That's not only how he operates, but that invitation is a sacred one, and it will change your life. It's changed my life. It's continually doing that. And I know that it's changed yours and Dane's as well. I want to wrap up by bringing maybe one thing up. Other thoughts though, man?
No, I guess I would just kind of put a cap on the story I've been going through.
Yeah, I want to know, and I think the listeners want, what's the end of this story? Here you are on this podcast, being very wise and chill. And you did end up slaying this great dragon, and you did end up feeling this kind of like completeness. And I'm hesitant to use that word, but I think there is a level of completeness to the healing journey. The big rocks. Maybe we always have these little pebbles that we'll, toss out and work through for the rest of our life, which is fine. But yeah. My question is basically like, what was the big dragon? And then what have you experienced after that? What's been the benefit of not giving up and going through this process?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say I kind of felt like I needed to go as deep as I totally could and go back to the very beginning where this sort of fracturing had occurred. For me, I did that literally. I went back and visited the places that I had been on my mission. And there's so much to it, and happy to come back on and go into more details. But I spent a solid year diving in as seriously as I can. This is it. This is make or break it for me. I'm either gonna feel totally reconnected to that part of myself that was lost all those years ago, or I don't know what the alternative is. But I knew that I had to go there. And some of the big things that I think were a part of that process was total. I wish there was a word that combined honesty and authenticity and courage.
I know there's a Japanese word for that.
There's gotta be, right?
It's one word.
Yeah. And so it was kind of saying to myself that I know there's a part of me that's not fully being expressed in my life, and I'll go to the ends of the earth to bring it back. And that's that's the authentic part of me. And it takes a lot of courage to go there to really fight this big dragon that beat you the first time. And also it's a form of honesty, because we're saying, I know that something's still not right. It's not totally aligned, and I'm not going to stop until
it's done.
Until the truth of me is
That's powerful.
Expressed.
Making that decision, I don't care what it takes. I'm not going to stop until this is done.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, nothing can compare to for me in my life, the first 3 years of depression. That was the hardest. But this last year, going back and facing those things again was a big deal.
It's the dragon again.
Yeah. You went, and it was remember this moment, and going back to England and seeing that was just kind of a part of the process. But I remember thinking about that specific event, and really a thing that I would encourage people wherever they're at in this process is to really look at yourself as a hero and embrace that. That's not arrogant. It's not silly. It's true. And
I believe it's the true nature of our spirit.
Mhm.
This inner savior, prophet, teacher. I'm using those words in light versions, but I think that's super important, because you let go of the pain and you start to incorporate more stillness in your life. That part of you emerges, and it's the sun. It just begins to reach out. You can't even stop it. It's like it's to some degree almost automatic. And how that shows up is like, I'm seeing this person struggle the same way I did. Can you imagine just being like, good luck with that?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like you're like arm around the shoulder. Because again, just this compassion. The hero is full of compassion.
Yeah. And I remember thinking about going back to the places where I'd initially experienced so much darkness, and thinking about, like, what if these old demons pop up, and what am I going to do with them? And it was so clear to me, this thought, after all these years of learning what that really was. It was like, they don't stand a chance. Like, no way.
So what was it? What was the dragon?
So, so I went back there, and the true dragon is forgiveness. And yeah.
Before this podcast, like, I had a break right before this. And I was meditating for a second, and I said a little prayer and doing a little meditation. And my intention was like, God, universe, what do you want to, what should we say? What should come out? And I wrote down one word on the note, and it was forgiveness. We're definitely meant to talk about that. That's powerful. The hardest thing to do, if we run away from that, the fire scorches us. And it's, again, most of us don't know how to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a process, and it will naturally emerge in so many ways. It's a tale as old as time. And it's funny, I just looked at this. It was maybe 6 months ago that I had gone back to England, to where I'd first experienced all this. And I wrote to myself, I think I'm here to try to forgive the universe. Which, like, it's too funny looking at how things evolved since then. Kind of that early inkling of what was going on. But and a lot of,
you felt like betrayed by God from listening to him.
God, my community, all these people that were meant to help me. No, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
It was a huge sense of, I was just an innocent, naive boy that set out and got crushed. And, which I still think is true. Like, if you're unaware, you're unaware. And, but then I had to take responsibility for, that sense of being crushed, even if it wasn't my fault.
Right.
I had to pick up the pieces, and I had all the pieces, and the only way for them to meld back together was by letting go of the whole thing.
It's so beautiful, man. I love the simplicity and the truth of what you just said about the dragon. Because I feel so much, I've always felt so much from your story, because it's also my story of this younger boy growing up. Yours came a little bit later than mine, but mine was just continual, just broken home and just a lot of pain. And I, like you, have always been sensitive. And it's this sad separation from the boy, my true self, my boy, my or a girl, but my younger self, this pure, the closest thing that symbolizes our spirit in a physical form, perhaps, is your younger self, perhaps 6 or 7, and who you were, the qualities that you had, what were you doing? And then we go throughout our life and we experience pain. And most of us, because of our culture and our parents to some degree, we don't know how to deal with that. So the separation occurs. The Garden of Eden story, right? The separation from purity, from God, and thorns and thistles and all the suffering. And this wall is pain, and this wall is not knowing the steps to forgiveness. And that wall gets removed, and this beautiful integration maybe doesn't happen right away, but for some people it does. This integration between my spirit and my younger self and who I am now. And it's so beautiful. I don't want to jump the gun, but it's so beautiful to see the type of qualities that people just kind of naturally develop when this integration happens. Because it's like they just become more compassionate, obviously, is one. They become more patient. It's like, I don't understand how this is happening. Well, your true self is emerging from within, manifesting itself in the physical, in behavior, And it's your younger self, it's your spirit, it's all of that. It's the beautiful healing, it's the beautiful spirit and healing of Christ. And this like rebirth is a good word, but I just like reintegration, re-entering. It's so beautiful, man. It gets me. Because like I said, in my story, it's like going through that pain, and then this moment where I'm a senior in high school and my mom had kicked me out, and I'm living with this Chinese guy that moved back to China. So I'm in this house as a senior alone with dangerous situation because I was a dangerous human being just on a total path of darkness. And this moment where I felt snatched from my circumstance, like the hand is like, dude, you're swimming so hard against the current of life. And this experience I had was this moment where I didn't deserve it, but I had this ray of light occur within me that said, like, you're not happy. You need to change. You need to move in with your dad. And it just it wasn't coming from me. It wasn't me thinking and wanting to change. And so that moment changed my life. It hit so deep. It was a lightning bolt. And this is part of my story of why I have so much compassion for people who started with addiction. The next phase for me was addiction and vanity and money and just all the stuff that doesn't actually bring any fulfillment. And God knew that. And he's like, boop. And so this was part of what I was meant to go through it's part of what it's the reason why I became a therapist deep down, to help people that I felt lucky. I felt like I didn't deserve. I just felt it's like, I'm going to do this it was like almost like a contract with God. Like, hey, I'm going to do this for you. And not like, it's like, you better pay me back.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, don't forget what I've done for you, basically. Like, you need to remember that. So I don't think it was that aggressive, but that message hit with love. It wasn't like it humbled me, which is totally what I needed.
Yeah.
So
Perfect balance of firmness and gentleness.
Right.
Cool. I think there's so much more that we could dive into, but it's been awesome to be on here and share this. And hopefully for people out there, there's been some sense they've gained that even pretty long journeys that might seem really complicated, that they have a resolution that's available to you, that you are truly worthy of, that's beyond your wildest dreams.
I have 2 questions for you, man, before we wrap up.
Yeah.
First one is, what advice would you give to people that have a desire to forgive people that have deeply hurt them? Like parents is a big one in people's journey that I've talked a lot about on the podcast.
I would say that the resistance you might feel to choosing to forgive someone, and forgiveness is at a heart level. It's really, I'm not just talking about conversations and saying things, even though that might be part of it, but the resistance you might feel to that is often a reflection of your own guilt and your own fear that the whole mess of the world doesn't deserve love. And when you choose to forgive someone else, you're inevitably forgiving yourself. And that's where true healing really occurs.
That's powerful. I love what you said, that it starts at the heart level, which is one layer deeper than thoughts. Okay, so if you want to forgive someone that's deeply hurt you, if there is a simple process, I would say it's this. First, welcome and feel the hurt and the pain that has come from that, and really try to embrace that and feel it and let it take over your body. And that is often hurt and sadness. Once you have felt it, you start to open up. The next step for that is, this is still at a heart level, is understanding. Feeling pain is meant to lead to understanding. I think what's interesting, the way that people talk about forgiveness, is the actual forgiveness isn't necessarily a step. I guess it is, but I guess it's like forgiveness can never take place without a certain amount of understanding first. So like understanding naturally leads into it, and then it, like you said, it's this it's this self. Yeah, it's the benefit. Forgiveness is the benefit of feeling the pain, then seeking understanding, and we'll probably talk more about that. We for sure will. And then on another podcast. And then the last part is, there's usually, especially with parents or deeper wounds, there's usually some action that you need to take to integrate all of this, to align all of it, you could say.
Yeah, and I would just add to maybe
Please.
Forgiveness is about your own freedom.
Yes.
You're gonna have to accept that the behaviors that you're forgiving in other people, there's a good chance they're not going to change. And so you have this fear maybe that the pain that you felt as a result of your perception of those behaviors is you're like betraying that pain by forgiving them. And actually you're doing the exact opposite. You're letting go of that pain.
There's so many cultural myths about it, like that people just like promote, like in the form of validation or in the name of validation or whatever. Like, for example, like, I can't forgive this person because if I do, I'm letting them off the hook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or you're asking me to forgive this person, they don't deserve it. But the message is like, you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And you holding on to this pain is not going to necessarily affect them in any way. They're going to keep going throughout their life.
Yeah, I think that's why I say that resistance to forgiveness is oftentimes your own guilt. Because
you're not.
if you don't
forgiving because you're not engaged. What do you mean you're because you're not going down that path?
If you're afraid that we're all condemned to be, bound and punished by our actions, and you're kind of externalizing that by saying this person has got to change before I forgive them, you're doing it to yourself too.
Interesting. So that brings up some guilt because what you're doing is not really in line with who you are, type of thing.
Yeah, because your deep self wants to love unconditionally to others and to itself.
And that is a beautiful truth that we've talked about before on the podcast, but like we were talking about, what is the nature? Like, okay, who is this spirit you speak of underneath thoughts and emotions? It's unconditional love is one of the core.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's specific to you, James. This is the thread. This is what the spirit is made of.
Mm-hmm.
Light, truth, love, peace. Cool. Last question is, where are you at? How do you feel now? You've gone through this. You've slayed the dragon. You've forgiven you've forgiven your parents. You've forgiven God. These huge figures that really affect our life. Was it worth it? Or is it like,
Yeah, it's funny because my decision to do that wasn't based in this moral reprimand that I wasn't choosing to forgive.
right.
It kind of came out as like, I don't know what else to do. I was at a point where it was like I had exhausted again all these spiritual paths and just kind of realized that the only thing I could do is let it all go. And forgiveness and letting it go, I think they're really similar. Maybe even the same.
It's the same word. It's words, different words for the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just was kind of like, okay, like I'll give it away. I'll give it back to the river. And now I don't even still believe sometimes, like I wake up and am shocked at the return to myself that has occurred.
Well,
on every level.
Well, last time we talked, it's like you're still kind of like, last time we talked was really beautiful because you were like, yeah, like I haven't exactly hit peace yet. I have in a lot of ways. I love what you said when you texted me. You were like, yeah, there's like these truths that are just emerging that I've been wondering about for years, and that they're just like clicking. There's been a lot more clarity for you. But I think your brain, with trauma, our brain is impacted. Our physical body is impacted. And obviously our emotional self and spirit are impacted. So it's really valuable. Obviously, I think the core of this is if I can let go of the emotional pain of that, but we still are conditioned mentally and to some degree physically. And so that takes time to, but that's like that's so much easier than slaying the dragon. Those are those can be symbolic of the smaller demons and whatever.
Yeah, I think it kind of just sorts itself out after the true inner shift has taken place.
Beautifully said in 7 words, what I was trying to say in 200. Yeah. I just to wrap up, truly, it was beautiful last time we talked because I knew the true result of this integration for you was joy. And you actually reflected that back to me in a beautiful way. I don't know if you said this exactly, but this was the message that I got from our conversation is like, Corey, I was kind of jokingly like, now you're part of this club where you know the secrets of life. But you were like, Corey, you didn't say this. This is the message I got. But you're like, Corey, God has taught you some really valuable secrets about life. Like you, and I also feel this way about you, are the holder of some really valuable secrets of life. Some of them we talked about today. Why don't you have more joy in your life? Was the message I got from our conversation. And that's really, that's had a big impact on me since a week ago. And that's been on my mind for a few weeks. And you saying that without saying it like that, it was really powerful for me, man, because play is such a big thing for me. Getting back to this, just because we integrate our childhood self, which I believe my childhood self is integrated. I've healed the big stuff from what I know. That it has been integrated, but it's not an automatic instant joy as you're experiencing as well, I think too, even though you are joyful. Like we've been talking about, pain carves out, there's a hole that's already there in our spirit. And we can get that pain out of there, but then the hole is empty. And we have to fill that with joy and integration and other people and community and all that stuff. So as a therapist, I have lost some of my own story. I've lost some of my own self in getting lost in other people's stories. And so it's just so important for me to not only play, but remember who I'm going through. The way I'm doing that is like, I'm telling my whole life story to myself in the form of journaling. And all these great and beautiful things are coming up. And I'm laying in my bed doing this, laughing. My wife's like, what is going on? Dude, I'm remembering like stories about growing up skateboarding, and I was later to the game, and like my friends were all super good, and coming into that with a huge void of approval, and I was going to do anything. I was like, the only thing I cared about is getting their approval, and the only way I could do that is like I had to go do dangerous stunts on the skateboard and like throw my body off 10 stair rail. My buddies would be like, oh my gosh, like this guy's awesome, so nothing's changed. I'm just kidding. But dude, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If you have benefited from this podcast in any way, it would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, to allow us to keep it going and bring on inspirational human beings.